Welcome to the Local is Global podcast, where Bronx stories, local issues, and everyday people shape the world. I'm your host, Clarisa. Please share, like, and subscribe to our content. It's free, and it helps us build a bigger platform. Let's talk real access in my haven. We do not have access to healthy food, period. So today I had to meet my sister down on 83rd Street because I wanted a salad and she was treating me. But I wanted a good salad, right? I didn't want the deli salad for $15. That's just lettuce, tomatoes, processed chicken. I wanted a nice hearty salad. So I meet her at Sweet Greens and I'm thinking to myself, it is disgusting that in my community, I don't have access to these places, healthy options. Everywhere you look on the Upper East Side, just about a mile or two away, you have access to anything healthy that you'd like or healthier options. I'm not gonna say it's completely healthy, but healthier options. When you walk into our local groceries in our neighborhood, nothing is telling our kids healthy option. Like I've watched our young people ransack the delis for chips, cake, Arizona iced tea, Snapple, soda. It's ridiculous. Don't get me wrong. As a kid, as a teenager, I remember doing the same thing. And I was just having this conversation with my niece this morning. I said, I remember when I was young, we would buy $1 sandwich, processed meat, cheese. That had like 2 pieces of meat, 2 pieces of cheese, and bread. We would buy candy and a 50-cent tropical fantasy soda because those were our options and they were within our means. But there's nothing affordable that sets up our kids for a healthier future. Even on the Uber Eats app. I open up my Uber Eats app and everything I see is McDonald's, Burger King, Popeyes, Wendy's, the Chinese store, Texas Fried Chicken, Kennedy Fried Chicken. It's sad. It's sad. And I live right over the bridge into the South Bronx. If I lived on 128th Street in East Harlem, I could probably get healthier food on my Uber app, which we got to figure out how to push Uber to make deliveries into the South Bronx. At least the South Bronx. Like bring in some of those healthier choices into the South Bronx. Why do we accept Uber to make all this money in our community and you can't give us better options? I'm hot. So my question is, what are we doing at the federal, at the city, and at the state level? We got to change this. We got to require Uber to offer equitable delivery access across zip codes. Maybe we incentivize it. Mandate more healthy food retailers to open up in the South Bronx. We got to stop letting there's a spot in the South Bronx, here comes this business that's going to pour in more saturated fat and trans oil into your body. At what point does our community wake up to say, we can't continue to have this? We got to get together. When a business is coming, we need to know what business is coming. And if that business don't serve us no good, then you can't come here because y'all are making money at the cost of the health of the most vulnerable, of the poor. Like, come on, we got to do better and our leaders got to step up. So with all that being said, it leads me into this episode where I talk about how, in the Bronx, I always say in the Bronx, we do a lot with the Bronx is a little more resilient. The people are more resilient in places like the Bronx because of what we've been through and what we continue to go through, what we don't have, and how we're so resourceful. The Bronx is people full of resourceful people who make something out of nothing. January is upon us, and I know that people are thinking about their health. And that is when I talk about access to food, and we're going to have a great guest eventually to talk about access to food. But when I talk about access to food and not having it in our communities, I reference that as being structural violence because we can't do anything about that. It's almost like if somebody's holding you down and beating you because you can't, there's nothing we could do about it, right? At least that's how it feels. But I want to say this. We're thinking about our health. It's December. And January is upon us. There are things within our control that we can focus on. And one of those things is our health. Despite the obstacles, despite everything that tries to keep us from being healthy, there are things and steps that we can take to live a healthier lifestyle, to make healthier choices, and to do our part in contributing to our own health. Health is something that impacts everybody. We talk about it all the time. At least once a day, you think about something that is related to your health. I've always been someone to share my journey openly. 2016 of being diagnosed with diabetes and everything that I did from losing over 100 pounds to reversing that diagnosis. All of that work that I put in, the research that I did, educating myself because I couldn't lean on doctors to give me that information. And frankly, my doctor didn't give me that information. Once I was diagnosed, the next step was medication. And I had to tell my doctor, give me some time because I don't want to go on medication right now. So let me see what I can do. And I had to do the research. Nobody was telling me this is how you have to eat. This is the exercise you have to do. I had to do all of that on my own. So there's really no intervention. There's none of that. So what happens? Also structural violence. What happens when all of that is going on and you just really need to get a grip on your own health? I want to start by saying those of you who are struggling with your health, as I have been since 2020, and my weight has fluctuated, my mental health has fluctuated, my spirituality has fluctuated, I want to tell you that you're not alone. We're not alone. And this is what community is about. Building, leaning on each other, sharing the what works and what doesn't, and being able to help our own communities pull through the barriers and the red tape and the structures that they have in place for us to fail. You know, it's harder to be healthy in the Bronx than it is almost in any part of New York City. As I say it all the time, the Bronx is known as being one of the unhealthiest counties in all of New York State. And that's not because the people don't care. It's not because the people aren't disciplined. Systems have neglected us, have ignored us, and have created barriers that people in other boroughs never have to think about. So when I made that change back in 2016, I didn't overhaul my life overnight. This was something that I did making small steps, thinking to myself, well, I'm diabetic, type 2 diabetes. What do I have to do? What causes that? I had to educate myself on the causes of diabetes. I had to educate myself on the foods to eat. So I started to do that and I started to make small changes. And I also have a mini documentary that's 17 minutes long. If you have time, check it out. I added the link attached to this episode. I made one small choice, then another, and then another. And then in 2019, really, my grandmother passed away in August, and 7 months later, we were on lockdown from the pandemic. Now my mental health is collapsing. I want to say I went from someone who ran their first marathon in 2019 to in 2020, someone who felt hopeless, someone who didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, someone who we went on lockdown in March of 2020. In April of 2020, I was telling my wife, I need to see a therapist. I am not well. I often go back to those times where I was the unhealthiest that I've ever been. And I think about what was it that helped me spring into action aside from being at my rock bottom with the diagnosis of diabetes. We know that change is hard and it doesn't happen overnight. And sometimes in order to change something, we've got to go through, it has to be painful. When I think about what was it, it was the moments where I would become aware of the things that I didn't want to do anymore. I don't want to drink soda. Oh, or I would say, not I don't want to drink soda, but I would say things like, I got to stop drinking soda. Those were moments of awareness. But before I get into that one, I want to tell you a little bit about when I ran that 2019 marathon. Before the 2019 marathon, back in 2012 and 13 and all of the years that I was a spectator and cheering out there, I never thought in a million years that I would be a runner running the New York City Marathon. I would say to myself, I wish I could run that marathon. Oh my goodness, these people are so inspirational. I'm so motivated. That was on Sunday, and by Monday, it was gone. But then I noticed every year I would say, I want to run that marathon. I'm going to run that marathon. And guess what? In 2019, I ran that marathon. So when we talk about our goals, a friend of mine once told me, you got to almost be delusional. And that's exactly what it was. When I ran that marathon, I was speaking things into the universe that were delusional. And those are the things that we have to continue to do. I'm going to lose this weight. I'm going to be healthy. It's changing how we talk to ourselves, the negative self-talk, doing all of those things, putting the positive out into the universe. I was delusional in 2012, in 2014, when I was telling myself, I'm going to run that marathon. I couldn't even run for the bus, let alone run for 26.2 miles. But there's power. There's power in wanting something. There's power in the words that you say to yourself. You got to be delusional when you do it. So So after my grandmother passed away in 2019, 7 months later, we were on lockdown. It's now 2020. I'm spiraling emotionally, mentally. I now need to seek therapy. I need help. I was in a deep depression, having suicidal thoughts, and trying to hold up the world together while falling apart. And that was the moment where I learned that health is multidimensional. You can't be a whole person without spirituality, without physical health, and without a solid mental health. That is your foundation. That is your foundation. And when one dimension cracks, the others follow. So when that mental health collapse, your physical health collapse, the spiritual collapse, or if the spiritual collapses, the mental health collapses, and that's what happens. So the goal now, as I start to put pieces together, is spiritual, mental, physical. That is how I start my day. And this is what I'm sharing with you today, is about how are you pouring into your spiritual, your mental, and your physical. We can't separate the three. You can't separate emotional health from physical health. We can't separate spiritual grounding from daily habits. And we can't heal one part of ourselves while ignoring another. I was listening to a podcast the other day by Rich Roll, who I'm super inspired by. He has a book called Ultra, and he is very inspiring. His story, motivational, has an amazing podcast, and some of the people who have influenced me in this journey of podcasting. And he said, if you're lost or stuck, focusing on your health is the most effective thing that you can do. And when I heard that, it clicked, because I was feeling stuck. I just ran for office. I just lost the election. Things have been quiet. I've been feeling like, what is my purpose? Where am I going? What am I doing? And things, when things feel out of control, when things feel like you can't control them, the one thing that you can control is drinking that glass of water. The one thing that you can control is going for that 30-minute walk. The one thing that you can control is sitting still and being with yourself, grounding yourself, prayer, meditation, whatever that spiritual journey is that you want to be on. If you're lost or stuck, focusing on your health is the most effective thing that you can do. He says, not because it's easy, but because your health is the foundation. Your health is the foundation. When you hear yourself think and you say, I need to stop drinking alcohol, maybe that's one of your goals. I got to lose this weight. I got to stop eating red meat. I want to walk more. I want to exercise. When you're thinking about those things, take an immediate action towards that step. So when you say things like, I got to lose this weight, for instance, that's something that I'm always telling myself. I got to lose this weight. Now, when I say that, I'm getting on a bike. I'm working out. I'm going for a walk. I'm going to do something that contributes to that. You know why? Because we're programming our brains. We're programming our minds. We're rewiring the way that we think and what sparks after the thought. So those are all indicators. Those are all awareness cues to let you know, oh, wait, when I say that, what's the action that I'm going to do now? That is what we need to start doing. We need to start focusing and being aware about those cues, because we give ourselves those. We are everything that we need. We have everything that we need. We just have to pay attention to who we are, mind, body, soul. So when you do that, you take the small step, because once you take that small step, you're going to be proud of yourself. Your mood is you're going to be like, I drank a whole glass of water. I thought this, and boom, this was the action that I took. I'm promising myself that when I do that, when I start to become aware of what I want to change, I'm going to follow through with an action. I'm going to drink that water. I'm going to go for that walk, because mood follows action, identity follows action, and change follows action. So I mentioned I ran for office. We know, some people know, and for new listeners, yes, I ran for city council, but I was on autopilot. I was eating out every day. I wasn't moving intentionally. I was door knocking and hitting the ground and getting my steps in, but I wasn't intentional about my movement. I was pouring into my community, but I was ignoring myself. And when I lost, I realized something deeper. I lost my health. We do all of this and we let our health go, and it's not worth it. Nothing is ever worth your health. There's nothing and no one more important than your health. I want to say that again. There is nothing and no one more important than your health. Not your work, not your community, not your children, not your partner, not your mom, not your dad, not your family. There is nothing more important than your health. Like when you're on an airplane and they tell you, put on your oxygen mask first before you worry about anybody else. If your oxygen is not on, I can't help my child put his on or hers on or theirs on because I'm gone. I have no oxygen at this point. So take care of your health and then you can take care of everybody. And that's where I'm at. I am in a space right now where I'm saying, I will never stop serving my community. I will never stop doing the work in my community. But I need to pour into my health. Because for me to continue, Audre Lorde, who said, caring for yourself is not self indulgence, it's self preservation. And that's political warfare. They don't want you to rebuild your stamina. They don't want you to have endurance for the fight. And that's what I recognized. That's what I realized. Like, wait a minute, I'm depleted and I need to pour into myself before I can continue. And so I'm buckling down mind, body, and soul, my mental health, my physical health, my spiritual health, and I'm bringing my community with me. We're going to do this together because that's what it's about. So nothing more important than your health. Nothing. There's nothing that you can tell me. And listen, if you have something that you feel is more important than your health, please hit me up and let me know. Email us at bronxornowhere@gmail.com. Write us. Let us know what you're thinking. But there's nothing more important. At the end of the day will end, like my friend says. And I love that saying. At the end of the day will end. And if you are not taking care of your health, guess what will end too? If your health goes, everything else goes with it. And that's just real. My grandmother lived till she was 94 years old. She was always on my case about losing weight, about getting healthy. And when I finally started to lose the weight, when I finally started to get this rhythm, she was so happy for me. She was so happy that I was finally living a healthier lifestyle. And I knew I had to do that. Before she died, I wanted her to know that I was going to be okay because she worried about me a lot. She worried about those things. And like any parent or grandparent, my grandmother raised me, naturally, she's going to worry when I'm not here. I just want to make sure she's okay. She's given me all the tools, and I'm so grateful for my grandmother. She took care of her health. And she had a doctor for everything. She told me a story about when she was in her 50s and her doctor said to her, Luce, you are gaining some weight, but you gotta change that up because you're susceptible to XYZ. And she said she got herself a jump rope. And every day she jumped 10 minutes until she can jump more than 10 minutes. And she started to just jump rope. And eventually she started working out with Richard Simmons. And I even remember her having this workout tool. She had this workout tool that I remember white woman that would advertise. It was on a commercial. And it was it was like a resistance device where you put your feet and it had like a spring on it and you would pull by the handlebar. It had like a handlebar connected to it. I remember she had that. And when I was a kid, I used to play with it. But, she was serious about her health. And one thing that she said to me that I carry every day, she said to me, I take care of my health because I don't want to be a burden to anyone for not trying to prevent what is preventable. And honestly, if you love your kids, if you love your family, your mother, your father, your grandparents, your siblings, your work, your job, the one thing you're going to do is take care of your health. Because if you're not here, or if now they have to take care of you, it's not fair. It's a selfish act. Not taking care of your health is a selfish act. We're dealing with that right now. Where my mom is taking care of her sister who's in her final days, who didn't take care of her health. And now people have to scramble. She's only in her 60s, her early 60s. And because she's in her final days, people are suffering. When you don't take care of your health, other people will suffer. Other people will have to be responsible. And it is not fair. I want to leave you with this. Real life actions that you can take towards your health journey. When you feel disappointed, act immediately. When I got on the scale a couple weeks ago, I was so disappointed. But I wasn't going to let that feeling of disappointment get me back to spiraling. What I did was I took that feeling as awareness and I was like, what's the one thing I'm going to do? I need to do it right now. When you feel disappointed, you act immediately. Don't wait. Don't spiral. Choose one small thing. Build a 10-minute anchor. What does that mean? That's a short stretch. That's a prayer, maybe journal, or a moment of silence that grounds you. 3, move your body. Movement is medicine. Move your body your way. Not anybody else's way, but your way. What does that mean? Maybe I take a walk in my block. I go around the block. Maybe I dance in the kitchen. Go up and down the stairs in my building. Movement is medicine. It will make you feel good. Even if you said, I'm going to go out 20 minutes and I'm going to walk around the block. I'm going to put my time, I'm going to time myself. I'm going to walk 10 minutes going out and 10 minutes coming back. That is going to make you feel better. It is going to begin to rewire your brain. Number 4, shift your language. Shift from need to lose weight to I'm going to lose weight. Shift from I need to drink more water to I'm drinking more water. And make one promise to yourself every day and keep it. One promise to yourself. We make promises to others all the time. Make one promise to yourself and keep it and build that relationship of trust with yourself. Trust builds the momentums. Momentums build change. I also want to say this. The health challenges that we face in the Bronx, it's not just in the Bronx. There are global issues. What we see here, underinvestment, food insecurity, chronic diseases, trauma, scarcity, that exists around the world. The Bronx is a microcosm of global health inequity. But the resilience that we show here, the resilience that we have, is why we keep thriving as a people in the Bronx. Is why the Bronx, we got a lot of love. We got a lot of culture. So don't let people talk bad about the Bronx. We are who we're fighting for, and the Bronx is going to be a better place today and tomorrow and the day after, as long as we work on ourselves. So if you're listening today and you feel overwhelmed, stuck, disappointed, or exhausted, start with one small step, one small promise, one moment of care, because you deserve to feel good. Your community needs you alive, and your future depends on you choosing yourself, even in small ways every single day. Thank y'all for listening. Take care of yourself, mind, body, and spirit. And remember, local is global. Your healing is part of a bigger story.